It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, the Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. I welcome the podcast where me, the Captain, talks about movies, TV, sports, flicks, anything you can see on the two-word screen. I like to get on here and give my unique perspective, because after 47 years of being on planet Earth, I've developed a new perspective about these movies, TV, sports, and flicks, and I'd like to get on and tell about it. Because just maybe you care. And according to the stats, it looks like you do care. I want to give a big shout out to Flin Flon, Canada. Got some plays over this past week. Gracias, gratitude, todo raba. And when I heard the name of your city, Flin Flon, I was like, that is like one of the most unique city names I've heard in my entire life. So I just want to give you a shout out. I appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. You have a very interesting name for your town or city, and I'm sure there's a lot of cool things happening there. So we appreciate that, Flin Flon. Thank you very much. And just FYI, back in the day, went to school to be a radio DJ, but never got a job. I think I never got a job because I just didn't have the desire. If I would have had the desire, then maybe that would enable me to become a radio DJ, but it didn't. And that allowed me to become the greatest podcaster in the Matrix. Something debate might be true, might not be true, but I said it on the internet, so it's gotta be true, right? Because everything on the internet is facts, not facts, true, false, propaganda, fake news, the Matrix, planes, trains, automobiles. I don't know. I didn't make the internet. Ask the people that made the internet. So when you're online, just be aware, just watch out. Anyways, I can ramble you all day, but it won't. Let's get right into the podcast. But first, a word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I rap. And a while back, I rapped again. I just dropped a track called Age of Unreason on all streaming platforms. So if you want to hear the Captain's unique, experimental, spoken word rap, where me rapping only the way the Captain can, over experimental, crazy, ambient, electronic type beats, I'll put the link below to Age of Unreason. Check it out, and you will hear something like you've never heard before in your life. So hit the link, check it out. Now, let's get on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back again. And I'll be honest, I almost didn't make it. I got like 3 hours of sleep last night, and I am feeling it as I'm speaking. Right now, I can feel it in my body. I can feel the lack of sleep creeping in. And a few days before this, I got like 5 hours. So I got very limited sleep in the last few days, and I am feeling it. I'm going to drop this podcast, and I'm going to take a nap. I'm like them old people taking naps. It's like time to take a nap, because let's be real, I am feeling it, bro. I didn't feel it this morning, but it started to creep in. So I'm going to just drop this and go to sleep. So ladies and gentlemen, this morning and last night, I got to see Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4 premiere. Twovix, and I have no bones, yet I must flee. And ladies and gentlemen, it was absolute craziness. But before I get these episodes, a couple things. First of all, there will be spoilers. And second of all, I do own some shares in the parent company of Star Trek. I just want to be clear and transparent to let you know. Now that I told you that, let's get into Star Trek Lower Decks, Twovix, and I have no bones, yet I must flee. Ladies and gentlemen, these 2 episodes were absolute madness. And I mean that in the best way possible. These 2 episodes were just straight madness. It was craziness. And I loved every minute of it. The first episode, Twovix, is a very Voyager-centric episode. Kind of revisiting some of the problems that Voyager experienced in the Lower Decks comedic way. And it was done magnificently. If you're a fan of Star Trek Voyager, you will recognize a lot of the little Easter eggs they put in this show. It was absolute craziness. It was madness. I was just watching the show like, oh my gosh, it's just crazy, bro. And I don't want to spoil or give too much away. Just know It was utter madness and chaos. In the second episode, same thing. Second episode, they're in a menagerie and just chaos, madness ensues. Like the last few seasons were chaos and madness as well. But I feel these two were just way more chaotic, way more maddening, just way more faster paced. And I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. I was like, oh my gosh, bro. Like, this is some of the best Trek ever made. Lower Decks is fantastic, like I said before. Having a cartoon, a comedic cartoon in the style of like Family Guy or Rick and Morty was just a great idea. It is absolutely fantastic. I love it. If you've not seen any Lower Decks, go check it out. It is funny. It is great. If you're a long-time Star Trek fan, you'll love it. Even if you're not into Star Trek, I feel you will love this as well. It's just crazy, comedic, and fun. But ladies and gentlemen, it was chaos. It was madness. It was fun. But there's also some lessons in Lower Decks. There's always lessons, bro. So in the first episode, Twovix, the crew kinda experienced what happened to Neelix and Tuvok in the Voyager's journeys. Now, if you don't know, if you've never seen Star Trek Voyager, in the Star Trek Voyager episode, I don't remember which episode it was, but one of the episodes, can't remember the title, Tuvok, the Vulcan, and Neelix, the cook, their bodies get merged into one. They become one being. There's some transporter accident and they become one being, right? And the way they resolved that is they took that one being and turned it back into Tuvok and to Neelix. But over the years, there's been a lot of talk about that particular episode, saying basically they killed the new being Twovix to save Tuvok and Neelix. And there's been a lot of talk, a lot of feelings of how that should have been handled, a lot of talk about that. And in the Lower Decks episode, they explore that. They get to look at this situation with hindsight and explore it. Like, man, maybe Janeway made a bad move, right? Maybe Janeway made a bad. I'm not saying she made a bad move. I'm not stating that at all. But from the episode, some of the people were saying maybe Janeway made a bad move. But in that particular situation, any move you made would have been bad. There was no good moves to be made. You just had to make the best move you could in this bad situation. And on life's path and on the journey, you may encounter situations where you got to make the best choice in where they're all bad choices, but make the best bad choice. I personally experienced that a few years back where I had to make choices in a very difficult situation, at least it was for me, and I had to make the best bad choice I could in those circumstances. And it's never pretty or fun when you live it. Sometimes you have to do that. Unfortunately, a lot of us encounter that on the journey of life. It's not the best situation, but you got to make the best choice you can. And then when people examine those choices in the future, or even yourself, you might look back at yourself and re-examine your choice, say, damn, why did I choose that? Or that wasn't a good choice. But with hindsight, it's a lot easier to critique the choice being made when you're in the heat of the situation, when you're in that moment of time and making the choices. You don't have the luxury of seeing it from the future to make the choice. When you look at it, like I said, in the future with hindsight, it's a lot easier to critique it and say some things about it when you're not living it. So when Janeway was living that and they had to make the choice with Tuvok and Neelix and Twovix, she did the best she could with the information she had at that point in time. But a lot of the Lower Decks crew looking back at it like, bro, come on, Janeway, you messing up. And in the end of the Lower Decks episode, they made the same choice Janeway did anyway, right? Even after all the talk and the debate, they still made the same choice. Slightly different, very comedic, different way, but they made the same choice. So that happened in the first episode, and that's a lesson I saw there. In episode 2 of season 4, another lesson too. Another lesson that's been reoccurring to these podcasts over time, and a belief that I have for many years is that if you put in the work, you will grow, ascend, and be recognized if you just do the work. Because in the episode, all the Lower Decks crews get promoted. There were ensigns, and they get promoted to lieutenant, commander, or something. I can't remember the exact title, but they went from ensign to a higher rank because they put in the work and the time. And I believe, and a lot of other human beings believe, if you put in the work, if you put in the time, and you just do it day in and day out, as I say, do the drills, you will get the skills, then you will improve, you will grow, and you will get recognized. And you will move up the ladder, get promoted, get the next belt, whatever, get the better grade, whatever, get just moving on up. It will happen if you put in the work. And in Lower Decks, you've seen it. You've seen the Lower Decks crew for the last 3 seasons putting in the work. For 3 seasons, they put in the work, and now finally, the ensigns of the Lower Decks got promoted because they put in the work, and the superiors recognized when you do the work so much, you keep doing it over and over again, you will become so good and so skilled that you cannot be denied. And in the Lower Decks episode, the commanders, they saw it. They said, these guys are putting in the work, we are promoting them. because they did the work, they put in the work, they got recognized, they could not be denied. So congratulations on the Lower Decks crew from getting promoted. Although they still do the work no one wants to do. They may be promoted, but they're still Lower Decks, bro. So yeah, so it's very cool. Lesson there as well. So like I say on these podcasts all the time, there's always lessons in Trek to be seen, at least from my perspective. And when I talk about these Star Trek episodes and all the other stuff I talk about, I like to try to see the lessons we can learn and grow from these episodes of entertainment we watch. Because this podcast is about movies, TV, sports, and flicks, of course, but it's also about elevating our mind, elevating our body, elevating our spirit, trying to improve, trying to grow, trying to expand our journey, exploring the infinite possibilities of existence, to paraphrase Q. So ladies and gentlemen, if you've not seen Lower Decks, I highly recommend you check out Lower Decks. I highly recommend you watch all Star Trek. It is phenomenal. It is excellent. There are lessons, there are quotes, there is learning, there is growth. Everything you could want is in Star Trek. It is the best franchise, IP, universe in the universe. Nothing better. No disrespect to the other ones. They're all fine. But Star Trek is the best. Facts. At least facts to me. So ladies and gentlemen, take the Star Trek journey. Start with Lower Decks. Have some fun. Have some comedy. Enjoy it. And then take a ride with the other series because they're fantastic. So ladies and gentlemen, Lower Decks is back. It is absolutely phenomenal. And I loved it. And this concludes the podcast. So until next time, we'll see. Success is never certain. Failure is never final. Robert Schuller. Until next time, it's Captain Peace.
The Captain Talks Flicks.